Right, we're going to attempt to start a new topic here. Obviously this would be much easier if we were in school, because I could kind of talk you through little bits and pause and just double check how you're getting on and answer any questions. Okay, so we're going to attempt this and see how we get on. So what we're going to start looking at is something called orthographic drawing. Okay, now if you have done graphics previously, so maybe at Nat 4 or 5, then hopefully you've remember what this is. Okay, if you've not done it before and you're just starting this, hopefully it's something you maybe touched on in S2 with your teacher. I know if you had me you will have, but we'll kind of go from the beginning and just recap it just in case. Okay, so orthographic drawing is where we're looking at 3D objects, but we're looking at each face of it. So we're kind of creating 2D views. Okay, so what we generally tend to do is we'll have our front view and then we'll have our top view, and we might have both sides or we might have one, it just depends on the object. Okay, whilst we're covering this, we're going to do front view, top view, and then our side view. Okay, now first video I'm just going to kind of explain how to build this up a wee bit and see how we get on, and then I'll maybe get you to post your results in the team just to kind of see how manageable this is over YouTube. So what we're going to start with is let's go for like a kind of L-shaped block. Oh god, that's squint. But so we're going to start with something like this. Okay, and we want to think about, right, if I'm looking at the front face, what would I see? Okay, now generally I tend to take my kind of biggest, widest face as my front view. Quite often you'll kind of be able to work out what the front view is. Okay, so in this case I'm going to go for the L. Now with your front view, okay, I'm going to start referring to it in a wee moment as its actual name, which is an elevation. Okay, so that's E-L-E-V-A-T-I-O-N. Okay, and generally we want to write that in capitals, but that's something we'll touch on a wee bit later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler. Okay, I should have said that actually. You'll need a ruler and a pencil for working on this. Now, with what we've done previously, it is actually really important for us at this point to make sure we're working with super light lines. Okay, now what you might see me using as well at some points is just a wee set square here. Okay, if you've got one of these little 45-degree ones, it's going to make our lives a lot easier and mean we can actually work through this the way I hope we should be able to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build up this L-shaped block, and that's my front view. Okay, now your front view, you want to keep it kind of fairly near the bottom of your page, because we want to have space to be able to draw our top view as well. Okay, and again, we want to have space either side that we can draw our sides if we want to. Okay, so bottom middle for your front view is where we always want to work, or your elevation. Okay, now the reason I'm using this set square here is it gives me this nice 90-degree corner, which hopefully makes it a wee bit easier for us to build this up. Okay, now if you've not got one, what you could do is take your ruler and just kind of line that up. It's not quite as wide a bit, but it would still do the job nonetheless. So I have taken this, and again we're just attempting this here. We'll try one, see how we get on. I'll get a wee bit of feedback from you, and then we might have to try and think of another topic if this doesn't quite work for us. So what I'm doing is I'm just lightly sketching, and you can see I'm using this to get these 90 degrees as best as I can, which is quite fiddly, but we'll see. What am I thinking here? So I'm actually going to go a wee bit longer with my line just so that I can actually build up that block. So I've got some wee overlapping bits. Okay, so roughly that L-shaped item. Now what I am going to do just for this one to start with is darken it up. Okay, so what we've created there really, well, not really that quickly, but what we've built up is our elevation. Okay, our front view. So if I look front on this object, that's what I would see. Okay, now front views generally our elevations are generally fairly easy to build up because you're starting from scratch and you're just drawing it, okay? Now often you'll have dimensions and you would just kind of use those and mark them out, obviously, as it tells you. For your course assignment, it will ask you to do a sketch, okay, which means it's not measured, so that's why I'm not bothering measuring this. It's just to be kind of roughly in proportion, to show that you can understand how to build these drawings up. Now, what I'm going to start to do next is think about, right, what would it look like if I looked on from the sides? Okay, so we've got our top view, which we would create by looking down on our object, okay? And then we've got our side view, which if we were looking from the right, we would draw what we see on the right. If we were looking from the left, we would draw what we see from the left. Okay, now this is called third angle projection when we're drawing it that way. I will put up a wee theory PowerPoint for you where you can, projection, where you can find out a wee bit more about this. There's something called first angle projection, which is essentially the opposite, so you draw the left side on the right and the right side on the left and the bottom on the top. It's all a bit daft, okay? Third angle kind of sticks with making sense. Left on the left, right on the right, top at the top, okay? So what we want to do is we want to start thinking about, okay, if I looked on the side of that object, let's do our side view first, what would I actually see? Okay, so if I'm looking onto this end, so I know, and this is just kind of common sense showing me this, but I know, let me pick a coloured pen, that if I looked on this side, I'd be able to see this face here and this face here, okay, if I look directly on at it. Okay, so I kind of know that I'm looking something roughly like that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to use my existing object from my elevation to build up this side view. Okay, now our side view is called an end elevation. Okay, we're looking at the end of our elevation, so it's hopefully one that's fairly easy to remember. Now you can see I've gone back to these nice light construction lines or projection lines, so I'm carrying those lines all the way across. And again, I'm using a wee bit of the surface just to try and keep it straight. Okay, now this is not probably going to end up absolutely perfect, not going to be totally spot on because you're at home and you've not really got these kicking about or a drawing board, but we can still kind of give it a bash. So what I want to do is leave a space between my views, okay, so that we can actually distinguish between the two sketches. And I'm going to say, right, this is my side of my object. So that's my first edge here. And then what I want to think about is how wide is that object. So if I look up here, I know it's kind of about the same length as that bit. So I'm just kind of eyeing it here. Again, this doesn't need to be measured because it's a sketch. And we're just kind of putting something roughly the thickness that we're kind of aiming for. Okay. And now again, I can build this up and just darken it in. Now again, I might forget to mention things. Usually if I were teaching you in this in class, you would be able to kind of ask me a question if I'd not mentioned something. So if I do miss anything, just post in Teams or ping me an email, and I'll get back to you and kind of hopefully answer it. So elevation built up. If I look at the side, I know that that's all I'm going to see, okay? And that is our end elevation. So, like I think I said at the start, the names of each view underneath in capital letters ideally. Okay, mine's really rough, I'm sure you can do it a lot neater than that. So that's us built up our side view there, nice and quickly. Okay, top view is the same idea, but we're going to use one extra little feature, or try to anyway. Might be a bit fiddly at home. So we're doing exactly what we did on our end elevation. We're projecting our lines up nice and lightly. That edge is a bit longer. So I've projected it up, so now I know again, if I think kind of common sense, now generally when you're doing these drawings you'll have a 3D object that you're sketching, so you can kind of usually visualise a wee bit better what you'll be able to see on the top. You'll have something like this. So if I look down on it, what I can see is, I know these two kind of blocks. Okay, so I'm going to see the top of that bit and the top of that bit there. Now, same again, I'm going to leave my gap between my views. So I'm going to just slide that across. So I want a bit of space. The space does not matter, okay? As long as there is a decent sized gap so that you can actually distinguish between your different objects and leave a little bit of space for your titles, that'll make it a lot easier for us. So we've got that front view. Okay, now what we know is that the object is this thick, and this is where we're going to add in something different, which is where this could go a wee bit wonky for us, given that we don't all have one of these at home. So what we're going to do is take the front edge of this view and the front edge of this view, okay, and where they hit each other, we're going to create something called a bounce line. Okay, now a bounce line is, it kind of almost acts as a mirror for us, or as a way of us carrying the line over. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this as I go, but I've taken the front edge of that view, I've taken the front edge of that view, and where they cross is where we're going to create this bounce line. Okay, now it has to be at 45 degrees. So 45 degrees from there, kind of out the way. Okay, which I know, again, I'm just kind of saying we'll try this at home. Might be a bit of a challenge for us, but we'll see. Now, how can I build this up? I'm just going to take over a bit. I'm lining it up, and where they hit, so that wee point where they cross over, is where our 45 degrees is coming from. Okay, and that there is called our bounce line. So it essentially means that we don't have to actually measure anything on our plan view, okay, or our top view. We've taken those lines up, so we've not had to measure how wide they are, and we're going to use this bounce line to take our thickness over. Okay, so what happens with a bounce line is that anytime we take something up, if it hits it, it then goes straight across. Okay, so if you think about that one, I've just extended it a wee bit there to try and show you. So this front edge has gone up, it's hit, which meant it goes across the page. We'll take this side now, we'll take it up. As soon as it hits our bounce line, it bounces across the page. Okay, now, that's quite handy. Lining it up with the bounce line and taking it over. So again, I know this isn't going to be absolutely perfect and it's going to be really tricky to show you, but we've taken it up and over, up and over. That's actually slightly squint, but we can live with it. What we've now got is all our kind of lines, and we just need to start darkening those up. Okay, now what I am actually going to do is just rub out some of this little arrow. I've made it quite high. Our top view would make sense. We've got our elevation, we've got our end elevation. It would be sensible to call that a top elevation, but it's not. Okay, if you think back to the building standard stuff we did last week, you had floor plans, location plan, and it was all looking down from the top. Okay, so your top view is called your plan view. Okay, and that's how we would build up our basic drawing. Okay, and that's us just today used projection lines or construction lines. You can call them either. Construction. And we've used darker lines, which are our outlines. Okay, now when we're creating these technical drawings, there are a whole bunch of different lines there. Okay, we've got centre lines, we've got hidden detail lines, but for now, just while we get an idea of how well this works at home, I'm just going to stick with this super basic object. Okay, and then as I say, I'll get a wee bit of feedback from you, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll start kind of adding in these features like kind of cutouts and circles and things like that. Okay, but that's our kind of basis of how we create orthographic drawings, and then it's the same standard, it's just fiddlier parts. So you build your front view up, you project it all over to create your side view, we take it up to get our width, and then we build this wee bounce line. Okay, I'm going to actually label that up. So front edge, and wherever they meet, we go up at 45 degrees, okay? The gap between these views does not matter at all, okay? You can see I've got a bigger gap here than I do here. Couldn't care less about that. It's where they cross is where we take our 45 degrees, okay? So if you do have a little kind of set like this, or if you have got a full-sized set square, then that would be absolutely ideal for using this, but make sure you use a 45 degree one, okay? So the one that's got either side the same length, okay? If you do it with this one, a 60-30, you'll end up with a wonky drawing because your bounce line won't be at 45 degrees, okay? It has to be that 45 for it to work. So I'll pop this up, have a wee go, and then, as I say, I'll put a wee post in Teams and we'll see how you get on and if this is going to be a viable option for us having a go at over Teams. Cheers!